Sorry, my baby's just over here. Um, Hi guys, I'm Fama. Nice to meet you all.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Hey, I'm Sam.
Nice to meet you.
Stacy.
I'm Kayla.
Nice to meet you, Kayla.
Hello, I'm Max.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Is you guys second class or?
For me,
Yeah.
second class.
Yeah,
same.
same.
This is my
This your what?
this is my first. I just
Oh, okay. Oh, welcome then. Okay. All right, we can just go straight. Stop. Sorry. Okay. Mommy.
So I kind of pulled up the prompts, and I think part one talks about how we should discuss mentalistic behaviorism or just like idea of mentalistic. Um, I mean, I have the definition, but what do y'all think is a simple explanation of mentalism? Or how did y'all find to understand that?
I found it more like psychological labels. It's pretty easy to just think about it like just like the inner, like things like anger, expectations. I would say things like labels such as like stubborn and things like that to explain causes of behavior. Um, that's a simple way for me to kind of just address it. Um, just anything that doesn't really offer like any real explanation as to why the behavior is actually happening, like it's something that you can't see.
Yeah, that's how I defined it too. Kind of like keeping attention away from any external antecedents that we could actually observe by supplying an alternative explanation, which in this case being those private events that we've come to know.
I agree. I think the idea of a private event is like one's own perspective of things, and we can't simply create some sort of explanation for someone's own perspective. It's an individual like experience. So I think that's like the biggest thing when I think about mentalistic perspective is just it's like it's an individual thing. So you can't speak for someone's perspective on a issue or idea or a topic. So
Right. Yeah, they're not observable or measurable things that we can actually
Yeah.
test and change. So they don't give sufficient causes, I guess.
Yeah, like when we say someone is lazy, you don't know, you can't measure that laziness, or you don't know why they're lazy and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, my BCBA always like she's done a couple of different topics about this during our group meetings and stuff, and just kind of talking about how we speak and how we say like, oh, the kid did this because he felt this way, and she's like, you don't know how he felt, like you can't like observe that or like measure that in a analytical way, so like we can't use that in our data and stuff. So
Yeah, because there's no data to prove it, so you can't
right.
say that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
yeah, I
Because I
find myself doing the same thing sometimes. I'll be a little bit subjective when I'm talking, and it's like so like in the pattern of speaking that you don't even recognize it when you start saying certain things, but it's like truly objectively, what are they actually doing instead of just saying what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think this is a good segue into like the other bullets within this part that like say like discuss how this mentalistic description would be described by a behaviorist, because I see myself getting subjective too, and they'll be like, oh, sometimes like, oh, I can say he's hungry. Well, why is he hungry, as demonstrated by reaching for food and stuff? And I think that's how you see that balance between the mentalistic and how a behaviorist would describe it.
For sure.
Mhm.
Does anyone want to read a definition that they got like from the readings?
I can read mine if you.
Yeah.
For mentalism, refers to explaining behavior by appealing to internal unobservable causes like thoughts, feelings, or intentions, rather than observable environmental variables.
Hmm.
For example, saying he hit his brother because he's angry.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I got my definition from the Cooper book, and it's similar to that as well. Um, I don't know if I can add any more to that definition, to be honest.
I kind of wrote something a little different, and I think it's just like bullet points of mentalism. I put it refers to a type of dualism, the separation of mental things and events from behavioral events. It's like,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I have mentalistic refers to explanations of behavior that rely on internal, like Max said, non-physical states of entities. They're often called like the mental way stations that one of the readings talked about. And them just like trying to bridge the gap between like environmental causes and actual like observable actions. Um, but yeah, do you guys want to move on to part two of it or?
Yeah, I think we hit it. So
Yeah.
Okay.
let's keep it going this way so we can be done.
Mhm. Um, I guess Max gave the example of like, um, I think you said like if he hits
Of,
his brother.
yes, because he's angry.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I would say that anger is like that psychological label of like we don't know, like how do you know he's angry? Like you guys said, how do we know what the person feels? Um, I would say that like maybe we could, if from a behavioral perspective, we could say that maybe the hitting has been reinforced in the past to like gain access to like an item or like to attention. I think maybe that's how we could probably say it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You mean like linking it to it?
Yeah, like how Max said, like, like he hit his brother because he was angry. So then we could just say like, oh, well, it could be that he's hitting because he's been reinforced in some way, shape, or form in the past. And so like that's why the uh the the person continues hitting because they're gaining something from it. Instead of saying, oh, like person is angry.
Right.
I
I don't know.
agree. I think
Hi,
also
everybody.
too.
I'm just
Oh,
joining. I'm sorry. I was
hey.
rushing from a client. I'm Samantha.
You
Hello.
didn't miss much.
Hello.
Still in the part first. Good.
Sorry.
I said you didn't miss much. We just on the first part right now. So
Oh, great. Yeah, I couldn't find a place for my city bike. I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Nice.
Anybody else in Brooklyn? No? Oh, okay. That's cool. Sometimes
Texas.
they are.
Texas,
Oh,
oh nice.
okay. So, great. So what are you talking about?
So we're in part one, and we're kind of discussing mentalism, and I think also too an example is like, how can we apply a proper way to explain certain scenarios that could be mentalistic. So Max gave a scenario about like, you know, a kid being angry, hitting his brother, and instead of saying it, oh, he was angry and hit his brother for whatever reason, what would be the, you know, most objective way to kind of, I guess, go about that situation?
Right. Yeah, that's good. Um, I was talking with my BCBA about something similar to this yesterday at my supervision. I don't know if this counts, but she was talking to me about how I try to redirect my client. Um, and she was giving me an example of like when he's not listening, instead of telling him what not to do, tell him in a very brief sentence, what exactly to do. So like instead of if he's not listening, um, to say, Max, do this. And then say like, come here, or touch this. Do y'all think that's good? Sorry, this is my
I
puzzle.
understand what you're saying. You mean, for example, if your child is running, you can say walking feet instead of don't run. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like I don't want to like give away anything about my client. So now I'm like kind of like difficult with words. But yes, thank you. Fama, or how do I pronounce your name?
Farmer. Yes.
Fama. Yeah, that's perfect. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do y'all think that's kind of an example? No?
I feel like it's a little bit different from mentalism in a way. I think
Oh.
like we were discussing about like mentalism in general, and I think it's just using more subjective words to describe or to kind of like summarize a situation or a behavior or an instance. So I think more of in the terms of like how can you
Wait, subjective or
objectively.
objective?
So, like, mentalism will be more subjective, and as behavior analysts, how can we be more objective about a scenario instead of like putting our own like feelings, thoughts,
Yeah.
ideas, perspectives onto things? Like, what's the baseline, you know, understanding of something?
Right.
I feel like if you were gonna like write a note about this and be like, like when you're writing like, oh, my kid wasn't listening,
Mhm.
you can't like leave it at that. So you'd kind of like make it more objective and, he showed signs of not, attending based on or observed by this. We changed it where we, because of his verbal or his auditory processing skills or whatever, like you just make it the vocabulary you need basically. Um, and so instead of just like being like the straight turns, like he wasn't listening, it's like, well, why wasn't he listening? What was the surrounding environment like? All that kind of stuff. And then you can kind of go in and being like, BCBA suggested using simpler terms, simpler words, or whatever to make it more of that objective, observable data that we need. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
that does make
Good
sense.
job.
Thank you so much, Kayla. That was awesome.
Okay, do you want to move on to point number 2 or part 2
Yes.
about radical behavioralism?
So I feel like I get that confused with the methodological behaviorism. Is radical behaviorism where like the thoughts, opinions, feelings, like those are all considered behaviors, whereas the other one is just observable and measurable behaviors?
Yes.
So yeah, what I had for like my what's it called, definition when it came to radical behaviorism was that it does not deny the self-observation and or the self-knowledge, and it's the balance between both the mental and the behavioral, but it does allow for like the private events in interpretation, but it does not mean that that is the cause. So I feel like that's like where, there's a little bit of differences where it is a balance between the two. But you're not like directly saying like, yeah, we're allowing this in behavior, but this is the cause.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the private part is good because that was one thing that was confusing me, and so I really had to like reread a lot of the reading material because I think it stated that like according to Skinner, they don't ignore the private events, but that they feel that the private like stimuli is like follows like the same rule as like if some like a behavior that you can actually see. So I wrote it emphasizes that responses when it comes to private like events are equally lawful and alike in respect to responses of public stimuli. Is that what you were talking about, Samantha? Okay. Well, I think your mic is off. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, so I'm keeping it off. But I'm trying to find a table that I read or that I saw within the reading so I can tell y'all that actually kind of really had the differences between like methodological behaviorism, radical, and I'll get y'all to that so y'all can see it because that's what really helped me understand the difference.
That would be so helpful because I'm having trouble with this one for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
the
mean, maybe
examples that I can
maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I think it really does come down to the strictness of the definition that I feel like radical behaviorism is not as strict. It's more open to almost more open to subjectivity because it takes into account the inner world. That's at least how I think of it.
Yeah, the examples that I found, so like they had the example like a comparison. So like a scenario would be a child is refusing to read aloud in class. So the method I can't even say the word methodological behavioralism like aspect would just only focus on what you can see. So the child put their head down and stays quiet. Whereas the radical behavioral side would consider both parts of the public and private events. So the child puts their head down, which is observable, and then they may feel anxious. So that's like the private event they feel. And then avoidance is reinforced if they escape the reading out loud and stuff. So yeah, they definitely take the method part is very like basic. It's just observable data that you can see. Whereas radical Skinner says, we have thoughts and feelings, they exist, but we just can't directly observe them, but they still count as a part of the environment that the child or person is influenced by, just like any other behavior.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot more sense. I mean, I don't know, nobody cares about my opinion, but it seems to make a lot more sense, right? I mean,
Yeah. I just get confused on like radical behavioralism and mentalism because I feel like,
yes, that's what's confusing me too. Sorry.
yeah, because like we don't take mentalism into consideration, but then radical behavioralism came in and Skinner was like, no, we should. So I guess it's just definitely like a preference on what you want to use and stuff as an ABA therapist, but
Or maybe what it is that radical behaviorism is more objective than it's still behaviorism, so it's still science and it's still data. Um and and it's still like psychological, but it's not quite to the level of it's not the subjectivity of mentalism.
that's true. That's true.
So I read this really interesting review of Skinner's book by Noam Chomsky. And I think that that's what kind of what Noam Chomsky had the problem. Obviously, he's not into behaviorism. But so that's what I think the issue is with mentalism.
So the way I've gotten this explained to me is like, so for example, if you take hunger and okay, you can say, your client is reaching for food because he is hungry. That would be like mentalist. It's just mental. It's just hunger. That's what it's defined. But like the radical behavior, like when you're bridging the two, is yes, he is hungry, but you would also take into consideration that he is hungry because it's been 5 hours since they ate.
Mm.
Oh,
And so
interesting.
like adding the behavioral, like the actual like objective side that like you can actually see, you can put a number to, so forth, along with not ignoring that is hunger. So it's kind of just like bridging the two together. That's how I got it to me. And then too, when you look at it's on chapter 3 of the BOM online on Cortex. It's table 3.1. It gives like a table of like the variants of behaviorism and like differences, whether they accept, reject dualism, mental terms, intelligence, private events. So that was a table I was referencing earlier.
So chapter 3.
Yeah, I think it's
Awesome.
I think it's page 53. It's after the
love-
summary.
I love a good table.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Samantha. That actually makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good explanation. I didn't even think about it that way. I low-key use ChatGPT to kind of summarize
Yeah.
Mhm.
It gives you like a simple, like very simple explanation, and then talking about it actually makes sense. You're just putting two together. So
Yeah.
I agree.
I think that's really the only thing ChatGPT is good for. It's like
Yeah.
when Wikipedia came out, I hated Wikipedia, and now I'm like, it's totally good for summaries.
Mhm.
Just simple summarization. When you get too deep
You
into
gotta,
it,
but you gotta
yeah,
double check the facts, which is exactly what
exactly.
I thought, well, how I felt about Wikipedia when it came out.
True, yeah.
Yeah, this is fabulous. Yeah, I remember this now. Thank you so much. Fabulous.
Do you want to talk about the last point of part 2? It says compose an approach that could convey your treatment approach grounded in the tenets of radical behaviorism to a parent of a hypothetical client.
Are we supposed to write this down and submit it? Or are we
No.
just submitting our recording?
they would send me a link, and then I'll just submit that link for all of us.
Just the recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then next week we gotta pick
And
someone, I believe.
and the transcript, right, Fama? Is there a transcript next to the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
That's all.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Finish, you should be good to go.
They, yeah.
Did we do the question about the challenging components for like non-behaviorists? Wasn't that the second part, or am I missing it? Did we answer that?
Um,
I feel
'Cause
like
I have,
we kind of, I mean,
you guys think we answered it?
kind of covered it, but we can go more in depth about it. Yeah. I mean, I think we just mainly talked about like the difficult parts of like understanding the difference between radical and mental and then the method one and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, someone who's
Okay.
not a behavioral analyst would be interesting.
Maybe they mean like a parent.
I kind of think they mean, honestly, when I read that, I think they mean what we do when we're trying to communicate in our session notes. At least that's what I thought, because I find that difficult enough, trying to be really
Mhm.
objective. Is everybody else BTs? I mean,
Um,
yeah.
Well, for one of the things that I come across, not me, but my BCBA, when we're doing observations is when we're trying to explain just behaviors like a casual conversation with parents. And I find it that it's very difficult for, I guess, non-behaviorists to accept that private events are not the cause of their actual behavior. And so when you try to say, oh, it's more environmental, let's, help with the environment, I feel like it's very difficult to get that buy-in in my experience. So I've seen it through like that point, like during like
that's a
sessions
really great point.
so I think that's something that maybe like non-behaviorists would struggle with. It's like, no, it's not that they're stubborn.
Right.
Yeah.
It's X, Y, and Z, and it's very hard to get that buy-in and and then come up with interventions where you have to modify the environment, and they're like, no, 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 it's not that.
Right.
I know, we get a lot of that. That is my child. I know, and this is how they feel, and you're like, what do you do with that? You're like, yeah. So I think it's just for me, like finding that balance is, I would say, but that's the experience that I get when it comes to private events and
Yeah.
behaviors.
I think I've had actually recently a similar experience, kind of like dealing with parents one-on-one, and especially if that case or that child or the kiddo, whoever you're working with, has been in AB for so long, and it almost feels like they're starting over. And so a lot of the times, like you face these challenges of like, oh, well, I know my child more than anybody. We've been doing ABA for so long, and I haven't seen any of these changes. I know what they're feeling and thinking, and it's kind of hard coming into a new case, knowing that, there's all of this, inner feelings, especially from parents. And how do you navigate that with simple terms so they understand, but they also don't feel like, oh, we're not truly trying to take care of the behaviors that the parent sees in a way. So yeah, it's I feel like the parents, honestly, when it comes to like ABA in general, I feel like parents is like the hardest in terms of this whole process trying to help their child. It's the parents, low key.
Yeah, no, not
And
even low key, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
Definitely
it's
guess
hard
you're,
for
agree.
them because they they don't understand that we can't fix what's inside. We just modifying the environment for them,
Yes.
like and seeing what could work, but they think like we literally have to fix what's inside of them. That's why. That's why
Yeah.
it's hard for them to understand.
and I'm
I
sure it's
definitely
hard to hear that, like trying to it's hard to hear like, yeah, I understand you know your child the best, which they do. It's their children, absolutely. You know your baby. I'm pretty sure it's hard for parents to take that in. So I think that hopefully in the future, I mean, whoever does want to be a VCBA, we do consider that it is hard hearing that as a parent. Hearing someone come from the outside telling you that, like, no,
Yeah.
not that you're wrong, but let me give you another
Right.
another reason. Um, so yeah.
I have a client right now who his parents are like very adamant about the cause of his problem behaviors being like internal things. And I definitely agree that it can be very tricky because he, they're just, they don't have an open mind to it actually being something else other than their feelings. And I'm a pursuant right now, so part of it is working with his parents on getting like interventions planned and stuff. And it's kind of challenging to, take into consideration what they're saying, but also using your knowledge that you have in making that balance between, okay, I want to take into consideration what you're saying. I respect that, but also, looking at things in a, I want to say logical way, but that's not really the word I'm looking for. That makes sense.
Like environmental contingencies, maybe?
Like just focusing on things like a simple answer. Like if you're like taking baseline data on something and it's pretty clear to you and the text that this might be a big trigger for them, but the parents are saying it's something else. It's like, how do you, like tell them, like, yeah, that could be, but we're seeing this. And we're seeing that this is the cause, not really anything internal.
I feel like what we're all trying to get at collectively is that, like, when it comes to these 2 points that we're trying to answer, is that it's the parent who, like, may not accept the behaviorist perspective because they may be stuck in, like, the mentalistic approach that it is all internal. They, just don't want to attend because they're annoyed, but that's a mentalistic approach. But like bridging the gap between both and a radical behaviors perspective would be like, well, they're annoyed because the antecedent of like the environment presents this. And so when it comes to like developing an approach and conveying it to them, it would be like, yes, I understand that. Like, yes, we're not going to ignore the fact that he may be annoyed, but it can be objectively defined because there's another peer in the room who is just throwing things at a wall. And therefore, our approach to this would be an antecedent intervention within this case. Like, I feel like that's what we're kind of all like getting around to and like just putting it all together, like how you would explain that to like the parents of a hypothetical client because they, like we said, may be stuck on, they're just mad. Well, why?
Right. Yeah, I agree. Are we good on part two?
Yeah, I think we should move on.
Part three? Okay. Yeah, we got about like 30 minutes left, so we'll finish part three and then we'll discuss next meeting time and stuff too.
Oh, we have to compose the intervention?
The
I
what?
think Samantha gave a good example.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. That's good enough.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm
sorry, there's
thinking
two
like
Samantha.
when it says compose, I'm thinking like, do we have to actually like write it out? Sorry.
Oh, no. I think everything is just talking.
Yeah.
We're just
Okay,
discussing.
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Does anyone have a good example of operant behavior that they've seen or read, heard, etc.?
I think
I found one. Oh,
go ahead.
you
Sorry.
go ahead.
No.
Okay. When
Max.
child says please and receives a cookie, then increase the likelihood that they will say again, please. So that was the easiest one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically behavior influenced by consequences,
Mm-hmm.
I think. I don't know, unless anyone has any more to add, but that's how I see it. It's just the consequences shape your
It's
behavior.
yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah.
Okay. Should we tackle the quote? I think that's part of it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the quote. So the quote itself is the view that mental activity is essential to operant behavior is an example of the view that feelings are introspectively observed states are causally effective. Is that the quote we're supposed to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it could be, when we'll actually, hold on. I'm thinking about the three-term contingency when it comes to like operant behavior and like antecedents. And I feel like all antecedents kind of have some type of internal um like position in a way. Maybe that's what it means. I'm not sure. Like,
I thought this was more so referencing like
hmm.
kind of the purpose of like a preference assessment. Like the view
Okay.
that the activity of like the preference is going to be essential to getting like, the operant behavior that I guess is the target. Because without like having that high motivation or something that they actually want, you're not really gonna, I feel like, have the success to like, shape what the operant behavior is, like that's being attempted to be taught or so forth. And so I think that's, to me, that's how I interpreted it, is that the feelings of like what you want, or like it has to be substantial enough, it has to be reinforcing, motivating enough, then therefore that's how you tie in like the feelings or introspection are causally effective to the operant behavior, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that makes sense because you need some type of like establishing operation to even like want to, react or have some sort of like, you know, behavior. You need something that's motivating you. So, yeah.
I mean, isn't it just what we were talking about? Like, what we were saying about the parents, like that they think that it's mental activity that causes behavior instead of environment.
That's what I got from it. I thought it was just criticizing that it's the internal states that cause the behavior. That's what what I got from it, but
Yeah.
now I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know
no,
anymore.
I don't think I think it's really just him using, fancy language.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
So how would you like kind of set that up in a scenario?
So, I mean, if mental activity is essential to operant behavior, that means that there has to be a feeling or a thought that involved with in order for the operant behavior to happen. So maybe like you have to argue that they have to feel like they like cookies or they love or they want the cookie. There has to be a feeling, a desire that is involved with the cookie. And then that would be causally effective.
That makes sense.
But wouldn't feeling or desiring a cookie also be considered operant since it's a learned thing in a way? Because, like, if you think about, like, reflexes versus, like, learning to want a cookie. I mean,
Well,
we
I
don't,
think that's
we're
why
not.
it's essential,
Mm.
right? That's why you use the word essential.
I think it depends on the reinforcer. I mean, the reinforcement that's coming
Okay.
after. Because if the behavior happens and then, so for example, if your kids are having a tantrum and it stop because they know there's a good reinforcement coming in. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, could you tie in motivating operations?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was saying. I was like,
Yeah, because sometimes even with a you would have a kid and you would be the biggest reinforcer because they
Right.
know you would play with them, that they would just have a good day. It happens in my clinic sometimes with the techs because they know this tech is so fun. She runs around and plays so good with them. So it's just like, oh, I'm gonna have a good day because I have this person. So they're looking forward to that because, to offering to hear or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel yeah. They've been conditioned by the
Yes,
consequences of
yes,
Mm.
the tech that is running around with them,
yes.
so they will continue to behave
Mm-hmm. Right.
or show behaviors in certain
Yeah,
ways
yeah.
in order to get the tech's
Yeah,
attention.
because if you're doing DDT with this kid, they know after this one there's something so exciting coming. They will
Right.
get it right. They will not,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to escape to the man or things like that.
So I again back to the chat GPT comment about simplifying things. I asked for it to simplify that because I was a little confused on like the quote itself because I think again the fancy language does kind of trip me up sometimes.
Yes,
Um,
it really
but
does.
just basically he's saying believing that thoughts and feelings cause operant behavior. It's the idea that internal feelings or mental states actually control what we do. So then I guess following to the next point, the last one, from the perspective of a radical behavioralist, discuss how this statement could be explained to people not familiar with behavioralism.
Mm.
Any thoughts on
Very
that?
interesting. Control what we do. That's a real statement,
Yeah, that's what I was like, again,
That's quite drastic. Really? Control?
take chat with a grain
That's
of
what
salt, but
who
that's
that
what
ChatGPT took that got decided on the word control. That seems really
yeah,
drastic.
I guess you can consider chat being very radical in the sense
true,
using,
true.
Well, exactly. That's the problem. It's an AI.
yeah,
It's very literal.
yeah,
That's why autistic people often are unwittingly thought to have written uh ChatGPT language because we're more literal.
Mm,
straightforward to the point.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Did I interrupt
That's
someone?
okay. No,
I do it.
we were just, yeah, just how to, I mean, it kind of goes back to how we were talking about the parents and having to like simplify our language in a way to help them become familiar with our terminology, I guess is the question that I'm proposing out.
So I guess we could say like always like notice and say like yes, like those feelings might be real, like those private events are real, right? To whoever the person is experiencing them. However, they're not the cause of the behavior, but they are part of it. I guess that's just the way to like put it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think they don't want us to go deeply into what they're
Yeah.
feeling inside. It's
Yeah.
basically, oh, why is this kid crying? So they have toys around them, right? They were building up blocks, the blocks failed, and then when you come in and you see they're crying, then you're like, oh, is it a block? So you're trying to figure out what happened outside of it because you don't know what really happened inside.
Yeah.
I think to add to that as well, it's like when you're taking ABC data, I know they want us to like pinpoint every single, thing that could have possibly affected, that behavior, whether it's like if it's a escape contingency or attention base, like what are the like going down in the list of things that could possibly happen. And then also, like you guys were saying, just acknowledging, they do have feelings and understand that that could be a contributor, but what is, realistically straightforward, what is happening in the moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Was that your question, Kayla?
Yeah. I was just, I mean, I was kind of going off the bullet point a little bit of what we were supposed to talk about.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think we hit it on the head.
Okay.
Do you know if we have to go until, I know some of our second classes with this, but do we have to go until 7?
No, we
No?
don't.
Okay, my last
As
class
long as
did.
we hit like all the points, then we should be good.
Cool.
As long as everyone agrees and we feel comfortable with submitting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did good. I think everyone gave in their opinions and their thoughts, and I think we got it.
I think so too.
Yeah, everybody was really astute and participatory. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same time works next week.
Yeah.
I know the time change kind of threw a lot of things off, but
Tuesday for everybody or
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I am coming
Yeah,
from work,
we'll-
so sometimes like I'm getting out of my shift,
yeah,
but I'll do my best to be on time.
it's okay.
Also, who's making the Zoom meeting next time? Who's making the room?
I can do it.
Yeah, I shouldn't be the one to do it only because I will be rushing.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I can get it site. I mean, it's the same. We just use the same link, basically, but
Can
I'll
we?
try. Because last time, my last class, I couldn't figure it out, so I might have to create a whole new link. But normally, it should be the same link all semester. So
Is it?
that's what my last class did. That's what the CI for that class said. But then I couldn't figure it out, so I ended up creating a whole new link anyway. So
Was it the same person creating the link though?
yeah. So
That's
like,
why. Because it has to have the same link the whole time, it needs to come from the same account.
well, it's all through the ASU. Yeah, it all through.
But I mean, it has to come from the same person's ASU account, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm pretty
well,
sure. I mean,
that's fine then. Yeah, we'll just I will get a new link though. We'll get it all.
if
Get it all
it makes
situated.
it easier, we could probably do some type of like thread within our own group for Slack, and then we can just like
Yeah,
update
that
the-
team 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just that's why I'll be posting it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Fama, you're good to post or submit the assignment when it's done recording. Cool. Oh, your mic's off if you're sorry.
I'm like, what? Okay. We can use the same link then. You don't have to create another one. Then we can just
But
use
then you would have to submit it every single time, Fama. Yeah.
that I don't
Yeah.
want to. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're delegating. Yep.
Yeah.
we
For my last class,
Okay.
we all did separate links.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Fama, if you run into any issues, just reach out to us.
Okay.
And let us know. Like it should take a couple minutes.
Yeah, I
and
did it before,
pop up.
so I know what to do. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Kayla, for taking
Yeah,
that on
thank
next week.
Of course.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Thank
Nice
you,
to meet
Kayla.
you.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Guys.
See you later.